It's the I Can't Mom Today podcast with Heather, the new mom, and Vera, the seasoned mom. I Can't Mom Today.
Hey, this is Vera and Heather back again with another episode of I Can't Mom Today podcast. Hi, Vera.
Hey, Heather. How's it going?
It's going okay. I'm on humble brag. I've completed 5 weeks of working out. I've only missed one day.
You go, girl.
Yeah.
How many days a week are you working out?
Every day, but every day. Well, I mean, I consider Sundays a workout day because it's like active stretching or something. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah.
But so I feel like that is.
What are you doing? Are you doing what's your program?
MBF, which is muscle burns fat. It's with Beachbody On Demand.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So are you enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it more as it goes on. The first time so it's only a 3-week program. Sorry, I had to put some chapstick on because actually it's Burt's Bees. But so it's a 3-week program. The first time going through it, the first 3 weeks, I just showed up. Like I was like, this is what's gonna happen. This is as good as it's gonna get. Like, but now I'm really starting to challenge myself because I do feel better. But I broke my ankle 6 years ago. God, I can't believe it's been that long.
God, I can't believe it's been 6 years. I remember that.
I know. And so when I broke it, I messed up like my hip and my knee, and it's just never been the same. And so that left knee is really painful. Like there's just something wrong with it. And I just haven't ever gotten it looked at because I kind of get frustrated with, physical therapy. And I just didn't feel like it was ever getting anywhere. And I was just like, what the hell? Nothing's changing. So,
Yeah.
So I am limited in some mobility on left side, but I'm really trying. So that kind of spurred my laziness and sitting on the couch and, just not getting up as much as I should. And so that has just snowballed into out of shape Heather. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really proud of you. And
scale has not moved, but I feel stronger. Yeah. So that's what's important, right?
Yeah. Well, honestly, in my experience, the best way to lose weight is to change your eating. Working out is awesome. And it's definitely a good addition. Yeah. But you're not going to lose weight if you don't, but you will eventually.
And I have, and I do. And I have changed the way I've been eating. But it just, I've always been the kind of person that I just cannot lose weight like other people do. Like if a normal person did what I'm doing, they would have shed probably 15 pounds in the last 5 weeks. Yeah. I mean, because I'm killing it. I'm really focusing on eating the right things and when to eat. And it just doesn't come off me.
Sometimes, I hope it's okay that I say this. You struggle with PCOS too, right? Polycystic ovarian syndrome. So that kind of messes with your metabolism too, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I know that that's definitely a factor. And for me, when I work out, I don't typically lose weight for a while. It's like my body hangs on to it for a while. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not letting go, even if I do change my eating at first. And then after a few weeks, then it starts going, oh, okay, we're good. And then it'll drop it. But everybody's different, but as long as you feel better, and you will eventually, if you stick with it, you will notice a difference, either, in your clothes or on the scale or both, Yeah,
I'm waiting for that day.
Yeah. So hang in there. Sorry, I'm trying to,
No, I have a friend that I'm doing it with. So it's, she is in much better shape than I am, but it's just nice to have that accountability and cheering on. And so the days that I don't want to do it, I don't want her to beat me.
That's good. That's always helpful.
My competitive side. Yeah.
Rock on. That's awesome. Well, good for you, man. I'm looking forward to the days I can work out again. My RA has just been kicking my butt. So I'm just waiting for my medication to kick in, which is, going to be probably another month or so, I think.
That's crazy. It takes so long.
I know. I think it just needs to get in your system, because it's so, with autoimmune diseases, it just kind of affects everything. And so it just takes some time for it to really do what it needs to do. But then in addition to all that, we had a COVID scare here at the house with Jerry, because Jerry, we talked about before he had buried the bag, he had the catheter in his with his prostate inflamed, so he couldn't pee, in case you didn't hear last week's episode. And so he had a catheter in for a week. We thought everything was good. Still couldn't, had trouble peeing again, had to put the catheter back in, kept it in for another week. Then he wanted to go down to Miami to see his son and to check on, he's been trying to flip a house, which I would really call more of like a roll, because it's been 2 years. It's not flip. There's nothing fast about this thing. So
bury and hope it
doctor
grows.
right, exactly. So the doctor was like, well, I'm not a huge fan of you going down to Miami, because that's where one of the variants are, the South African COVID variant. But if you're careful, and he's like, and then I might just, if I were you, just keep the catheter in if you're fairly comfortable with it now, which unfortunately he did become fairly comfortable with it. I would just do that, because God forbid you take it out, then drive down there and then you have a problem. Then you're ending up and then you're going to the hospital in Miami. Like, that's no good. So he kept it in, comes back. And then a day later, everything seems to be going okay. And then a day later, all of a sudden he's got the chills. Yeah. He's got 102 fever. So I was like, oh shit. Either he's got COVID or he got an infection of some sort. So he calls the doctor. Thankfully, the doctor's awesome and is actually a friend of ours. And he was like, well, I can call in a prescription for an antibiotic in case you have a small, an infection. But do you know if you have COVID, or, have you been tested? And he was like, no. And he's like, well, I would get tested, but we'll go ahead and do the antibiotic because it can't hurt. So he got tested 2 days ago, and we got the results back this morning that he was negative. Praise the Lord. But in the meantime, we're in separate rooms. I don't want to go anywhere. So it's like really lonely, because you're kind of by yourself. So he's in and then I couldn't sleep in my own bed. I slept in the guest room just in case, just to be safe. And, so yeah, so that's been, I feel like the last few episodes I've been such a downer. I'm sorry if I'm I feel like I've been so
life happens, but I think that you have a positive perspective on it. I think, and the delivery too. You're not like, oh, I feel like I'm like you're matter of fact, and
I'm trying, man. And and he was so cute, because I got up and walked over to the, because the guest room's on the opposite side of the house from our bedroom. So I walked to the bathroom that's near our bedroom, and he was like, hey. And I was like, I'm grumpy when I first wake up anyway. So I'm going to pee, and I get out and he was like, hey. And I was like, what? He's like, because again, I'm trying to stay away from him. I'm negative. Come give me a hug.
You didn't text that?
Right? Exactly. No, he had to yell it across the house. So then I went in to give him a hug, and he's like, what happened to your teeth? I was like, what? Well, I had drank tea last night before I went to bed and didn't brush my teeth after I drank the tea. So I had like tea stains on my teeth. And I was like, well, thanks. I haven't hugged you in like days. And you're freaking, the first thing you say is, what happened to your teeth?
What a lovely, lovely
love, true love.
True love.
So anyways, so that's the good news. It's been, just all this stuff. Cause then you're worrying, and I'm not feeling 100% because of my stupid RA. And so, and it's like, then I have to do everything, I'm trying to wait on him and get him food so he doesn't contaminate the house, and he's not feeling so great. And so, yeah, so that's my story.
Yeah, I get it. And my dad had his first chemo and radiation treatments last week. So
oh yes, how did that go?
His first week. Good. He's still feeling good, and that's all I can say is he's still feeling good.
That's good. That's good. How's his, how's his, psyche?
I feel like it's okay. He's also the kind of person that doesn't allow people to see things.
Yeah.
So I think that he'll eventually let it come out, or go see somebody and have them help him.
Good. Yeah. No, because that's a big part of it too. And keeping keeping yourself mentally well is important, because it all goes hand in hand.
Totally.
So yeah, but speaking of your dad, we can talk about you being his favorite.
Yes, I am. We've touched on this before on the podcast.
Yeah.
So growing up, my sister and I have always had this, and I've admitted too that it's been more on my side, but my dad's family favored me more and my mom's family favored Allison more. And it's whether it's real or perceived, it was real to me. So it feels validated. And so I always, because dad was the fun parent and he was always like, da, 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 I love that that I was more, sorry, Brad's coming in and out of the house. And so the alarm's going off. So, men. So I always was so like proud that my dad and I were super close. And so I always said that I was a favorite child. And, dad obviously humored me and said that, yes, that I was his favorite child. And it's since changed since I don't live there, live in the same town as he does. And my sister lives in the same town, that their relationship has grown and become stronger. And so he acknowledges more of what Allison does these days than he has in the past. So that's great to see. But I will always claim the favorite role.
Yeah.
But actually it's now Baker. Baker's the favorite.
Well, yeah, the grandchildren supersede the regular children after a while.
I wrote
wait a minute.
A note, and I was like, from Baker and his parents. So so we reached out to our Facebook group to find out if other people also believe that there is a favorite child. Because first of all, let me talk to you about your family. Like, what is in your family? What does that look like? Is there a favorite child, or are they? Tell me.
Oh, in my family?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of complicated because I think that, well, and this was when you posted this to the Facebook group, asking about favorites. Were you a favorite and do you have a favorite, like in both directions? I think things changed a little bit for me once I had my own child, because then I could kind of, even though I only have one, I can kind of see how your relationship, especially as they get older, kind of ebbs and flows, and I think that there was a period of time where I felt like my sister was my mom's favorite, and maybe I was my dad's favorite, or at least I think my sister always thought that I was my dad's favorite. And I just think now as a parent and looking at my parents more as people instead of just parents, I think, like I said before, there's an ebb and flow in your relationship, and sometimes you just have more in common with, just as people with that parent than you do with the other parent. So maybe when you're a little, of course, because I was the cutest one, because I was the youngest, I was the baby. So,
Yeah.
So, but as you grow, like, or even as your kids become 10, 11, 12 and into teenage years, sometimes I've seen with some of my friends, like the one kid that was like so easy when they were little, then becomes like, a monster when they're like 13, 14. It's like, what happened? Where did my sweet baby go? So, yeah. So I think things kind of ebb and flow, and your perspective changes when you become a parent yourself. Because at least for me, I let go of a lot of any, the resentments that might be in your head, like, woo, they love her more than me, kind of become more mature about it.
Or do you?
Or do you? Well, no, it's true. There may be some people listening saying, no, you know what? Actually, I still feel like, my sister or brother is the favorite and screw them. Or they could feel like my sister or brother is the favorite and I really don't care. It's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think people definitely growing up feel that way about their parents,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My sister and I were raised by completely different parents.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the other thing too, is that, my sister and I are almost 5 years apart. So my parents were different people, really. You think of how much you mature when you're in your 20s and 30s. God, I'm not in either.
Or do you?
Yeah, right. Or if you don't. Yeah. But whatever. So you think of that and like how I know how different I was as opposed to 25 and then 30, so there's that too.
Yeah. Like for me, yeah, we just had completely different parents. Like my sister saw things so much differently than I saw them growing. I mean, even to
Mhm.
this day, we still see things differently. Like I'm
Mhm.
like, you are treated different and I am treated different. And these are, this is the truth. And she's like, that's not true. I'm like, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's hard to see from another person's perspective what is happening,
Mhm.
because like with my dad, it was always rose colored glasses. Like I mean, not always. I would say 90% of the time, like he was so amazing and like he's just the best. And like 10% of the time he's like, he's a shit. And, like, cause he can be and
Yeah, like
100%
most of
can,
us.
but I can
Yeah.
also call him out on it and he'll be like, okay, yeah. Like, and he receives it.
Mhm.
Um, on the other hand, like with my mom, like we don't like it is she's always been the heavy and I respect her for having to have that role because I
Mhm.
see that in my own life and
Mhm.
but at the same time it's just a different dynamic and like my sister didn't have that dynamic with my mom. My sister didn't have the same dynamic with my dad because their personalities were different. So they didn't hang out like as much as my dad. Like I always wanted to be like if I could have like just glued myself to my dad, I probably would have.
That's so cute.
But and so in some of the feedback we got on Facebook was it depends on the time and what's going on in with each child. Like if you have like the Eeyore child and does anybody ever want to be around them?
The Eeyore child. That's
You
funny.
probably try and then after a while it just probably ekes
Well, that
out
was
to
the thing
what you
too.
are and then you're like I'm Eeyore now and I don't want to be Eeyore.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. There's a family dynamic as well where I was the kind of the one that always liked making people laugh and
Mhm.
was, again, I was cuter, but so do just the you fill in those roles too. And my sister being the older one, she was probably more serious and maybe a little more Eeyore.
Mhm.
But that was also too just because of the family dynamic. That's kind of where everybody sort of fit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like you said, some of the moms said as far as favorites towards their kids,
Mhm.
like one person said she's two moms for her kids.
Yep.
So like her 15-year-old is completely different than her 13-year-old. And they are, she said they're personality plus. So they have to be parented differently. So I guess it's like apples and oranges, you can't say which one's your favorite.
But she
But
did say that her parents had a favorite and it was not
it
her.
was her. Her mom
It was
was,
not
yes.
no, it was not her. And so I wonder if she like took
Oh, it
that
wasn't her. Okay.
consciously and was like, "Oh, my family had a favorite child and so I don't want to do this to my kids." Cuz I feel like I do that in parenting. Do you do stuff and you're like specifically cuz your parents didn't do it or don't do stuff because your parents did it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, that was, I totally went the opposite way than my parents on certain things because of that. Like eating, you must eat your broccoli or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, because food became such a big issue in my house, I didn't
Mhm.
want to make an issue. So, yeah, I think that totally could apply where if you felt like your parents had a favorite, then you are very conscious of not having a favorite
Yeah.
amongst your. So that was, and then there's that one woman who said she has 8 kids.
What? Like I was
Did
like,
you
you
see
need a
that?
trophy, my dear. Yes.
I know, 8 kids, and she
Mm.
said, it just kinda depends on the time, and she enjoys being with them, and, so she just avoids them if they're being bratty, which I
Yeah.
like, steer clear, yeet."
Yeah. And
Kid number 6 is being a pain in the butt.
yeah. And do you call them by their names or do you just number them?
Right, exactly, thing
Get them
1,
ready for the
2, 3, 4,
real
5, 6, 7,
world. No one's going to know your name in the real world. You're just a number to them.
right? Oh my god, I seriously don't know. She's God bless her, 8 kids. I think that's awesome, though, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody ever actually said, "Yes, I definitely have a favorite." Most
No, somebody
everybody
did. They
said,
said it depends on the day.
"Yeah, yeah." But
But
even
I've
then,
heard
it's
that
not.
before too, that it ebbs and flows. Like one,
Mhm.
and it could be, the teenage years are super sucky. And so, people are with the attitude, they're going to go with the younger, older one that's out, that's not in it or out
Yeah.
of it yet. And sometimes, and I was thinking, because I have a friend that has a boy and a girl, and I was thinking, like, what would I do if I had a girl? Like, would that, because Brad spends more time with Baker than I do. And that's because they're playing, like, with
Boy
all
stuff.
kinds of, boy stuff. And I'm not, and I didn't grow up playing with a bunch of what are those things? Those stupid little cars. Anyways, those stupid little
Tonka
cars.
trucks and Matchbox.
Yeah.
cars.
Like I didn't grow up playing with those things. So it's like, I don't get it. I'll play with him. Don't get me wrong. I will play with him and I'll try to do things but it's just not my thing. And so I'd rather like cook with them or like clean with them or, teach them some responsibilities. But if I had a girl, would that be different? Would I want to do makeup or watch like girly movies or I don't know.
No, that's not you though. You're not so super girly though.
No, but I love snuggling.
Yeah, but you could do that with a boy too.
I do. I do.
I still snuggle.
Oh my God. I always go, Baker, what's my favorite time of the day? And he goes, snuggling with me. I was like, yes. Yes.
Oh yeah. No, luckily Luke, he strayed away when a few years ago, but he's come back. He'll still hug on me and love on me. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Like my nephew did that. Like I would give him hugs and kisses and just squeeze the crap out of him. I still do. And he's going to have a kid soon. So
I know you're going to
we're
be
not as close as we
auntie.
used to, but I'll still squeeze and hug him. Really
Heck
hard.
yeah, man. Heck yeah. Yeah. I don't know the I was thinking too, as far as the favorites with my mom, I think my sister and her, like I said earlier, were a lot closer.
Mhm.
And then after, like my mom and I were not very close, probably through my teenage years up until like my early 20s.
Mhm.
And then it was like, well, maybe she wasn't completely wrong. And then, when I got pregnant with Luke and everything, we got a lot closer. So
Mhm.
I think there was definitely a point where I would say that my mom and my sister, really pretty much until I became in my early 20s, that my mom and my sister were for sure way closer. And I think they're still very close, but their dynamic is very different than me and my mom. But at least my mom and I are closer now than we were, which has been really good. So it changes. But even like we said earlier, even when your kid is 5, 6, 7, 8, they change so much.
Yeah. Oh,
you do great.
Even when they're little, they change so much.
That's so true.
We're going through the attitude stage.
Oh yeah.
No.
Meow. The teenager.
Yeah. Turd.
It's okay. This too shall pass.
I know. But I'm
Just
just,
when you think you can't take it anymore.
I'm in it though, I'm like, does it, is this, if I don't be really forceful right now, is it setting him up for failure in the future where he's just going to be a complete D-bag and not like listen to any authority and be like, authority sucks, like I'm like, where's the point where it's like too much?
Yeah. Am I screwing up or yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or am I like teaching him something?
In my experience, I mean, you do the best you can. Some days you're just so tired that it's so hard to try and keep him in line that sometimes you say whatever, like when I used to lock myself in my room and you do that. And then just when, at least in my experience, just when I thought I could not handle it anymore, he would like change and he wouldn't be a D-bag anymore. So I'm hoping that's what happens with you because that's what would happen with me. And then he'd be like really great for a little while. And then he'd find a new way to be a butthole. No. So
this is not like,
nothing lasts forever.
He pushes me over the edge.
Yes.
And like, I don't want to yell to him. Although sometimes I do. I'm like, just stop. Like, I don't care. Whatever.
Yes.
Do whatever you want. I don't care. But sometimes like I just get so much like frustration that builds up. And then I just like, I slam a door, go into my room and I yell. My neighbors are probably like, holy cow, what in the world? Because I can hear things outside my house. So I can assure you they can hear me yelling. And it's not, I'm just like, and I just go really loud. Just like, so much better.
You need a release, man. Oh, I totally understand. Absolutely. Well, that's what, I mean, when Luke first started, and I was like, my child will never say that. When he first started saying, I hate you to me, that would really hurt my heart. Like,
Yeah.
like it was my child. And then after a while, I realized, oh,
That's
it's a 4-year-old saying I hate. It's only knows it's the worst. Well, first of all, I didn't like hearing a little kid say hate. I just thought, he'd say, I hate this, I hate that, I hate you. And I would say to him, are you sure it's that you hate it? Or maybe you're frustrated. And I try and teach him other language. But with me, he would say, I hate you. And I finally realized, okay, he doesn't know what he's saying. So then I would just say, I hate you too. And it just made me feel better. I don't know why. I hate you, mommy. I'd say, I hate you too. and then he didn't know what to do with himself. He would just be like, and that would be the end of it. And it kind of made me feel better.
Yeah. And when you know that you don't really hate him, obviously.
No, of course not. And I said it, the tone of voice was like, almost like I love you, but instead I'd say, I hate you. So that I think really pissed him off, but instead it wouldn't be so hateful.
Yeah.
And it worked. So if anybody wants to try that, you can.
Baker uses hate sometimes, and we're like, well, that's not nice. We're like, maybe, instead of like, you shouldn't hate anything. You can dislike something. You can really, not want it, whatever. But when he wants to get to me, he goes, I don't want to snuggle with you anymore.
Oh.
And I'm like, no.
Dun, dun, dun.
Not that. Please not that.
Anything, but don't take away my snuggles.
Yeah, even if it's angry snuggles.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah.
So if you have some stories for us for if you're a favorite, or if your sibling was a favorite, or if you have a favorite, and you can email us, and we're happy to post on your behalf, and it won't leave our lips. Because I really do want to see if there is, because I grew up always thinking there were favorites. Like your parents always had a favorite. And so, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious about that too. And you can be anonymous with it. We won't say
totally.
who you are. So emails, ican'tmomtodaypodcast@gmail.com. And then of course, I Can't Mom Today podcast on Insta, on Facebook. The group is the one where we talk to each other, and it's a private group if you're not already a member, and you can join. And then there's the page, which is really more where you'll see the episodes and stuff like that on Facebook. So we're all over and Twitter. We're on Twitter too. So you
the interwebs.
And rate the podcast while you're at it.
Yes.
Please
click on your podcast.
That's right.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.